Okay. This should be fine. There we go. No. Alien, hello. Welcome. Yeah. I didn't think I could. Maz, welcome. Dennis, Garthik. Hello, hello. Marble, Chris. Oh wait, I need to do that. Let me open this up too. Let people. If people almost always have issues with putting IDs in the stream, so okay, welcome. So I'll do Discord as well. That should be fine. Master Games, hello. Spartan, welcome. Okay, yes. Make sure... Make sure to put the letters ID and then a colon before your ID. That's how I'll find it. And then if you want your hangar reviewed, then just put the ID in, or I can check. Yeah, I mean you can have it can be the same message. Tolik, hello. Sin TDM, welcome. Hope all is well, thank you. It's going pretty well. Before chat gets big and you miss my comment, will you do Hemlock Fragment on a live? Please, it'll be funny. I mean, it'd be pretty easy to do in a 2v2 if you really wanted to, but I've done autocannon Hemlock before. It was kind of fun. Okay. You don't need the quotation marks. The quotation marks is to tell you like this is what you're supposed to put. You know, it's like everybody else is doing. Capital I, capital D, and then the colon, which is the 2 dots. On mobile, most of the time, if you just type I and then D, it'll autocorrect it and put an apostrophe there. You don't want that apostrophe there. That's why I say do capital I, capital D. Mobile devices won't typically autocorrect that. Thank you, Red. Much appreciated. To Master of Games. Nice. Okay, yeah. And I mean, yeah, don't spam it. If you spam it, then YouTube might like delete it. It only needs to be there once, really. Karthik, make sure to put a colon there. Yeah, almost apostrophe. Would have been bad. I'm assuming the IDs in Discord are automatically marked down. I don't know what you mean. Do you mean am I recording the ones in Discord? Yes. I'm opening up the Discord giveaway channel in case it's not working here. Okay. So does anybody? Okay. I do wanna ask. Does anyone have any specific questions related to their hangar that have been introduced now that mods are around, right? Because I know a lot of you probably, and probably a lot of you would like to be reviewed, and I appreciate that. But I can't look at everybody's hangar, and so I do prefer to try my best to make sure that I don't check somebody's hangar who's just using like meme stuff, or they don't have any, like, they don't really care what I say. They just have what they have and they're going to use what they use, and they just want me to look at it so that I can look at it. I would rather give advice to people who are actually looking for advice. And typically those people know what they're looking for, or at least they know what they struggle with. Wondering what to do with my Panther. Okay, I mean, please put your ID in, obviously, when you include that question. I'll start with no name then, since he has. Okay, for my second preset, that's this one. Should I switch out Onyx for Orion? Probably. And should I switch out Ember 12 for Revoker 12? Revoker is generally better than Ember nowadays. It always was in terms of DPS. The reason that people used Ember before mods, the reason that Ember was preferable before mods, was that quite a few things could be one-tapped by Embers, especially if you had like a Nomad damage from the dash, or like Seeker bonus damage. And Ember Gun can one-tap things faster than Revoker can. And that was the reason. But nowadays, yeah, people use it Revoker because it has the higher DPS. So in general, Revoker is the choice to go for now that everything's got higher HP from mods and shields and stuff. In terms of the Panther, I would not recommend a Stormwrack Orion, but I would recommend an Orion of some kind. Possibly nades. If I had to say something, if I had to like rearrange these weapons in the most optimal way, I would say Stormwrack, Aegis, Minigun, Eclipse, and then Nade Launcher Orion or something like that. Because, I mean, Stormwracks are really, really strong. You don't want to waste them on something that's fairly weak. In fact, most of the time, most people equip Stormwracks on their tankier mechs. They're particularly effective on tanks. So that is what I would do. Leon, welcome. Would you recommend for me to equip on Paragon? A different mech. I don't think you should be using Paragon at all, but... This is pretty good. This is pretty good. This is pretty good. I would say leave Paragon as your... Oh. I know, I would say swap Paragon for Guardian. There's no reason to be using a 4-star Paragon. Re-equipping your Paragon to make it better would only convince you to use it for longer than you should be using it, which you already have. It's rank 4 ready to be rank 5, whereas Guardian is like 5 times better. And it's only rank 3 ready to be rank 4. So most definitely replace this with Guardian and put on... some type of brawler weapon would be decent. So fusion cannon, pulse cannon, something like that should work relatively well. At least for the time being. You'll eventually want to swap it with a high burst damage weapon when Guardian gets to be a little bit weaker, but at this SP, Guardian should be fine. airplane dude. Should I take Orion to 5 stars? Also, what would you recommend on Surge, Frags, or Embers? Orion to 5 stars is probably a good idea. I think we're quite possibly with mods going to see a little bit of an Orion meta. And I don't mean like an egregious meta where it's like everybody's using it. But I think quite a few of top-end players will be using Orion to cut it because it cuts through mods and stuff easier. The excessive DPS is more warranted than it was before. So yes, I probably would upgrade it, but I would also I would wait to upgrade it until you have weapons that you can actually reasonably equip. I mean, since it's going from 16 to 18, you could probably just leave this build as it is. But in general, I typically do recommend like get the weapons that you're looking for first, and then rank up your mech, or at least make sure that you can equip it with something decent when you rank it up. This build is interesting. In terms of Fragment Gun versus Ember Gun, I would go for Ember Gun for sure. Fragment Gun was always a little bit behind Ember, not by much, but now that mods are introduced, especially with shields, it takes quite a few shots from frags to take down a shield. And it's the same with Ember Gun, but Fragment Gun has like a longer reload time, right? So what you really want to do with Fragment Gun is to make sure that you can kill whatever in a single magazine. With mods, it's harder to do that, which makes frags inadvertently a bit worse. It's the same reason that makes Embers slightly worse than Revoker. So, I mean, Fragment Gun's still a fantastic weapon, but now that Ember Gun is also for A coins and credits, there's kind of no reason to heavily invest in frags. America. Hello, welcome. Abbas, since rails and EMs are not what they used to be, I was wondering about, should I rank 6 Aegis or get some other weapon that could work against mods? Probably. I mean, Aegis is a good one. Did you mistype your ID? I think you may or may not have mistyped your ID, but it's not a big deal. In terms of not sure. Okay, so the difference in these is literally just minigun Scorpius versus minigun Eclipse. So probably minigun Eclipse over Scorpius. I think they have basically the same HP, but the Eclipse has a little bit more survivability and mobility, so that helps. Between these two, I don't know. That's tough. Having an Aegis would be nice. I don't think the Scorpius is really doing you any good. Like, out of all of these mechs, Scorpius is fun, but I don't think it's really going to do you much good. Hemlock is nice, and you could probably keep it there for a while. I use Hemlock competitively, but it's mostly like in a team setting. You definitely want a tank, because those are very strong, and it's just really good to have one, especially if you play CPC. In terms of like the weapon though, I don't know. Also, it's come to my attention that Graviton doesn't actually cut through all mod shields. I think it's only the multi-layered ones where the implosion ignores the shield. The single-layered ones, you have to implode the shield off first and then implode the galvanic hull off, which makes it incredibly weak and really, really bad. And it also makes me glad that I didn't highlight Graviton Beam as one of the, top 5 buffed weapons. in my last video. Because I knew it was theoretically, or at least I thought it was theoretically pretty good, but using it, I was not at all impressed. So I was just like, I don't know. I'm still not feeling it. And went with minigun instead. But, yeah, so maybe end up swapping Graviton Beam. I'll have to test it at some point. In terms of like what you could put on Nomad, I'm not really sure. Possibly nades. Nades are pretty decent. Although you'd probably want nades on like Eclipse. So the ideal setup would probably be like nades on Eclipse, minigun on Surge, Ember on Nomad. Nomad needs the really consistent damage output. Surge has EMP, which is basically like a free 3 to 4 seconds of damage output. In which case, minigun, even though it deals damage a little bit slower at first, can be like it's perfectly fine. It's just like stupid DPS. Again, though, I don't know what you should really do about the railgun, but I think you should swap the Scorpius for Aegis for sure. Yeah, I'll try to get Revokers for Nomad in the future, and that'll be better. Yeah, true. I was so hopeful grabs would be better post-mods. Same. They're really fun. The first weapon that I, like, specifically, like, fell in love with, essentially. it was my first favorite weapon. It was Graviton Beam. It was really nice. Okay. Ketchup. Plan to replace Redeemer with Nomad. That's a good idea. Panther with Gatecrasher. I would not do that. And replace Missile Rack with Disruptor. Redeemer with Nomad for sure. Nomad it was and still probably is the #1 meta mech. So get Nomad. Like if you don't already have it, then try to get it. And if you already have it, put all your resources into that. Get it up to par at least with the rest of your stuff. And then worry about other stuff from there. In terms of Gatecrasher, don't worry about it. Panther's much better. Gatecrasher was never really better than Panther, and it's even more of a gap now that there's mods and stuff that can keep Panther alive while its barrier is down. And then Missile Rack with Disruptor. On Guardian, it's not a big deal. It'll probably still take multiple shots from a Disruptor to kill anything. And since Guardian's the type of mech that you kind of hang back with, then firing one salvo, waiting for your reload, and then firing another salvo shouldn't be too big of an issue. So I would put that off. It's not a huge deal, is what I'm saying. Master games, if at all possible, want to avoid scrolling through 800 friends to try to find one person just because they're on my list, right? Anyone can add me through Plarium Play or whatever, but that doesn't mean you get special privileges. But I would do it for you because you're a mod and because I went to check your hangar already and it didn't happen. Feel free to put your ID in the Discord channel, and that'll be recorded for the giveaway. In terms of the hangar review thing, just let me do this. Just put in your question again and I'll find you. Ghosty, welcome. Rest after your 24-hour stream? Yeah, I am. I slept basically all day yesterday. Okay, let me check this. I'm thinking of ranking up Railgun 16 to 5-star, but I'm not 100% sure. I do want to replace Brickhouse with Nomad, though. Okay. Yeah, Brickhouse with Nomad would be a good idea. Railgun to rank 5. I kind of feel like EM Rifle is the better option for Orion. So quite possibly getting Orion to rank 5 instead of Railgun to rank 5 is the way to go. You get this to rank 5, put the EMs on it, and then replace the Brick House with a Nomad and whatever weapons you can. So essentially wait to do that until you have a Nomad and you have something to replace the Brick House with, essentially, because you'll need to replace the mech and the weapon. The reason I say this is because Railgun and EMs and Railgun, they both need multiple shots to kill things in a lot of cases now. Which, for EM Rifle, is less of an issue long term. For Railgun, it's less of an issue short term. You can fire multiple shots in succession with Railgun, not a big deal. But if it takes you 1 to 2 shots just to take down someone's shields, then you're left with only 1 to 2 shots to actually kill the mech. In the case of EM Rifle, you have a fixed reload time, so it's always going to come back the same amount of time every single time. In terms of Railgun, you have a few shots. You have like 3, sort of 4, like 3.5 shots. If you have a good reload implant anyway, which you do. So like between 3 and 4 shots, and then your magazine is empty for a very long time. Quite often the rest of the match, you're firing your last shot. You're basically on empty the entire rest of the match. And that's not super ideal. So I would recommend going with EMs. But like I said, you're going to have to replace this entire build with something. So make sure you have Nomad or some other mech that could do well. And a decent weapon, of course, to replace it with. Nade Launcher would be decent. You could put the Embers on Nomad and then Nades on Surge. Okay, Master Games, let me... Are you online? You're probably not online. I'm going to scroll through a lot of people. Actually, no, you know what? Let me copy it from... Let me copy it from Discord. I ain't doing it. Master Games, where did you put it in Discord? I don't see it. Okay, put it in Discord and I'll check it. You don't have to log on, you just put it in Discord. You're not entered into the giveaway unless you put it in Discord anyway. Also, for anybody who's joining the server, like anyone who's putting their ID in Discord right now, make sure it doesn't have the make sure you don't use the ID : thing. Please. That's only for the live chat. You thought you did? I don't see it. Unless you changed your... What's your Discord name? No, I don't see it. There it is. Thank you. And that's not yours. You might want to change it. What's the best or optimal weapon for Orion that's also free-to-play accessible? Technically, EM Rifle is free-to-play accessible. In terms of the best weapon for Orion, honestly, EM Rifle would probably be it. Because Yeah, I mean, I can't really think of anything else that you want to put on Orion. Here he is. Okay. Now, let me scroll back up to your question. What do you do with the Panther? Think about replacing it with Orion. Okay. You could do that. You could do that. If anything, I'd replace the Stalker with Orion personally, but I think the Stalker's probably going to stay there. If I know you at all. Doing... I suppose that would be decent. If you do replace Panther with Orion, I would actually recommend replacing Guardian with Panther. 16 energy railguns are actually pretty good. Because, like I talked about with the, like, you know, you end up with minimal mag size. You end up wasting a couple shots. If you have two 16s, having a few less shots is not as big of a deal because you can kill things, quite a few things, in 1 or 2 shots. So yeah. I'm doing a Disruptor Stalker after I max Bastion. Oh, okay. Demon Runner, do not tell me that. Master Games, this is why I didn't this is why I didn't want to do it. If you are on my friends list, don't tell me to search for your name. Just give me your ID. And also, you did give me your ID, which is weird. Is Disruptor 10 worth it on Hemlock? For something like 2v2, quite probably. I'm assuming you have Hemlock? Yeah. Oof, 6s. Well, I suppose everything that you... Okay, yeah, fair enough. It's mostly a 2v2 thing. But I guess also it's less of a 2v2 thing now that mods are a thing that exist. What you ideally want to do is make sure that whatever weapon you have on Hemlock can kill someone who is dazed before they're done being dazed, right? So as soon as you start shooting them, something like Missile Rack, Storm Rack, even Nade Launcher has pretty quick unload time, so it's able to get the damage out and do what it needs to do before their EMP is over. And that's really useful. Nades on Panther. Almost feel like you should probably have like a slightly longer range sustained fire weapon. So like Graviton or Minigun on Panther. And then probably the nades on Hemlock would be a better solution to what you got going here. Alright, Master Games, take care. Ghost, you should get nade 10 or to rank 6 or buy and invest in nade 12. That depends on whether or not you plan to get things to maxed anytime quickly. For most people, it's worth duplicating the 10s. If you're someone like me who has a lot of things maxed already, and is basically just like waiting for the next thing to like if another mech came out, I'd just instantly max it, is what I'm saying. So like I'm not gonna leave things at rank 6 for very long. So for me, and same thing with Sentry. Sentry he has quite a few rank 6 things, but it's not really worth it for him to heavily invest in 10 energy weapons. But I think for you it probably is. No Guardian? What do you mean? Altar, okay. This is terrible. That's definitely not going to work out for you. This could be decent. That's 16 energy and you're only using 12. Disc 8. I would say that the main downside of both of these weapons is that they just don't have enough damage. Disc Launcher's more effective than Disruptor, though, if you have, like, a damage boost, I think. Because there's basically no scenario in which you one-shot enemies, even if they're marked. Things like the shields and stuff that mods have, it's going to make it really difficult to one-shot anything with Disruptor. But you could kill something pretty quickly with a single magazine of Disc Launcher if they're marked. I think Orion would benefit more from Disc Launcher. Stalker is less of an aggressive... It has less HP and less speed. And less of a damage boost. So it's more beneficial for you to kind of hang back slightly more. And that's fine with Disruptor. Like, Disruptor can do that well. In terms of this, honestly, you could swap these builds and probably be slightly better off. Tank mechs are a bit tankier with mods, and you know, bots should be using slightly lower level stuff, but with mods, whatever, to make them about on par with you. So essentially, Sentinel's just slightly more tanky. That's what I'm saying, and that might make it better with Ember Gun. Zephyr's going to have a terrible time trying to get close to anything to use Embers, and the EMP is really, really short, only enough for like 2 mags of Ember 8s, which probably won't kill a ton of stuff, to be honest. And like I said, you can't approach someone with a Zephyr. Zephyr's way too slow and has way too low of HP for that. So you'd have to wait for them to approach you. It's probably better to put those on Sentinel. This, I don't know what you want to do with that. I don't know if you're like a hardcore, like a diehard Tengu fan or something. Well, you have frags, so like a single frag 8 would probably do better than a Grav 10 on Tengu, I'm not gonna lie. Lucas the Pufferfish. I am not accepting friend requests at the moment. I mean, unless you send it through Plarium Play, then I'll accept anything. If you send one through Plarium Play, then I'll accept it. I don't care. But in-game friend requests, you're limited to 100 or 99, I think, in a lot of cases. And that is full now. I've hit my limit, and I've been skirting around that limit with like. Sometimes I have 1 or 2 spots open, but yeah, I can't fill it with people that I don't know at this point. So I have to just generally say, if you want to send me a friend invite, it's gonna have to be on Plarium Play. So I should invest in Nade 10. What about 24 Energy Panther, or should I put something else on it? Nade Panther, I don't know if Nade Panther is necessarily the, like, a super ideal build. Because nades unload in, like, what? 4 seconds, maybe? At most? I'd imagine the mag dump time is like 3 to 4 seconds. After which point, you're waiting for like 5 to 6 seconds for them to reload. So a 10-second stasis barrier is not really getting... Like, a 10-second stasis barrier for a single volley of nades is not really necessarily, like... It's not necessary. You could put a different weapon that has a lot higher DPS on it that requires more exposure time. That's what Panther does really well with. Is something that requires exposure. Well, something that something that has really good damage but requires exposure. I suppose something with exposure as like the main downside. Okay, and then wait, sorry, what was this guy? Should I get Stefania? Is what he said. Probably. You have a rare pilot here, and legendary pilots. I would get rid of rare pilots as quickly as possible. Never get rare pilots above rank 4. In terms of this build specifically, don't keep this build. But a Stefania would be good to have. In terms of the rest of the hangar... 6s, no's are 8s. That looks pretty decent, honestly. The Ember Zephyr, like I told the last guy, is not super ideal, but you don't really have anything better to put it on at the moment. Theoretically, you could do Guardian, but I think it could probably go either way. Probably you should try it on Guardian, just to see how you like it. Because I think it's only... Yeah. It's only marginally slower than Zephyr. It has probably less HP at the moment. Yeah, so a little bit less HP at the moment. So it'll be a slightly worse brawler. But instead of like 3 seconds of EMP, you fully reset their ability and their weapons, which is typically longer than 3 seconds. It's typically like 5 seconds at least. So even though the mech itself is weaker, the ability lets you get the damage out for longer. So if that's something that you ever feel like maybe is sort of like you're kind of lacking on the Zephyr, swap the weapons over and see how it works. I've tried it on Guardian, but struggle with fighting nomads. That's why I use Zephyr. Okay. Yeah. I mean, it can't hurt to try it. That's all I would recommend anyone do is to at least try what I'm saying. If you've already tried it and made up your mind, feel free to disregard it. For those of you putting your IDs in the chat, please remember it won't count in the giveaway unless you put the letters I, D, and then colon. And if you want me to check your hangar, then I would appreciate something in the way of a question of some type, so that I know what kind of situation you're in, so I can help you better. You're gonna go shopping? Alright, Ghosty. Take care, have fun. Just ID in Discord, right? No, you could do it in both. It won't increase your chances, but like Discord is for if YouTube chat is not working, then you can put it in Discord if you want. Should I save up for nade 12, missile rack 12, or missile rack 8? Definitely not 8, since I feel like my Guardian build is lacking. Also, when I do when I do get Orion, what should I replace? Okay. Missile racks are not terrible, but I think nades are better. I'm pretty sure the 10 is for credits. So someone like you who does not have maxed mechs could get pretty good use out of a 10 and 6 combo or a double 10 combo, right? The Guardian is lacking, for sure. This is going to do pretty little damage in a very long period. It's going to take a long time to do any type of like serious damage. And Guardian isn't necessarily the type of mech that can survive for that long. A nade 10 and 6 should be pretty good and fairly optimized for something like Guardian as well. If you get Orion, replace the Slingshot, obviously, because you have 2 good scouts right here. You don't really need the speed. And Slingshot's, like, I don't even know why it's there. What do I need to do to become meta? Oof, okay, hold on. Now that's a question and a half. I don't think anyone's ever asked me that before, so I will take a look. Okay, so this hangar for sure. Double Storms is good. Revoker is a bit more optimal than Ember Gun at this point. So if you could get Revoker easily, then it's probably ideal. However, Ember Gun is not too far behind, so I wouldn't necessarily like make a huge deal out of it. Minigun Surge. That's decent. Although Surge is really strong. Eclipse is slightly less strong. I would swap these. You'd need... Okay, no, yeah, you're fine, you're fine. So I would put miniguns on Eclipse and then the Storm Racks on Surge. I've seen that work really, really well. The minigun Eclipse would be slightly less optimal, but the Storm Surge would be significantly more optimal. You could do Storm Seeker as well, but I don't know what you'd do with your Aegis at that point, and probably Storm Aegis is a better idea. So yeah. Otherwise, pretty solid. You might even, in honesty, you might even consider swapping your Eclipse for a tank. Another tank, I should say. Vortex or Bastion work really well. Rivera, you're broke all. I'm sorry. That's the way Plarium likes it. Alright. What weapons would you recommend for my Arachnos? Okay. Oh, damn. At this stage of the game, you shouldn't need an Arachnos. A Guardian would be much, much better. Having a Javelin and a Helix build is completely unnecessary. You only want one. This hangar is probably better overall. Okay, so let's work with this hangar. You can use this as your Helix platform because it doesn't really matter. But probably Brick House would be slightly better for that. Okay, but these are 8s and Brick House is only 12 energy. So yeah, until you get Brick House further up, or even yeah, until you get Brick House, you can just keep it like this for now. Because Helix doesn't really need any type of special mech to be able to use it well. In fact, you could probably use Paragon because Paragon's got better mobility and it'd be easier for you to get out of trouble with Helix. So Paragon or Arachnos with the Helix is probably fine. This is a decent build. What rank is this? Okay. Nade 10, Arc 6. Frag 8s. So you want the Frag 8s on Aegis. You want the Embers on Ares. This is fine. The Missile Racks on Stalker is fine. Though you could do Brick House as well if you wanted to. So Aegis, Stalker, or Brick House. Probably a Paragon is better than Arachnos, honestly. Ares, and then this last one would be either Zephyr or Guardian. Now you're very much lacking in speed, so if you have a fast mech, I would put it in. But if you don't, then at least for the time being, you probably have Guardian, so put that in. Or Zephyr. Or this Zephyr build, you could just move to this last spot. It's not like the best, but it is the most optimal way that you can set up what you have. TLDR, I would get rid of the Arachnos entirely. Because it's slow, it has low HP, and the firepower is... you have the same firepower on a Paragon. You may as well just put Paragon. Damn it. If nades aren't optimal for Panther, then disc launchers with reload implant still fine. I wouldn't necessarily say that. Do you have... Okay. If that's the only 12 energy weapon that you have, then go ahead and go for it. But there are better weapons that you could probably get. Minigun. What's another one? Trying to think of like decent 12 energies that work. I don't know why I can't think right now. Okay, so wait, why is I don't know. It's like mortar frags, no. Nades would be decent. Disc launchers would be decent. It's not like they're bad, it was just not like fully optimal. They'd probably still be better than something like Fusion Cannon, which is just like the weapon itself is kind of garbage. Graviton Beam would be decent, but at the same time, I'd have to test it. I'm thinking that the Implosion does not bypass single layered shields, which would be really... that would make it really weak and a pretty bad investment. Minigun would be the safer option for sure. Chain gun's halfway decent, but minigun's still better. Otherwise, yeah. Most other options are just like kind of random and only available for cash, like Viper, friggin' Particle Beam, Pod Gun, stuff like that. I'm a 2v2 main in tier 6, and I'll get Grav 10 soon. Should I get Legendary Beam Pilot for the Grav Beams, or should I do something else? I would stay away from investing in a Graviton Beam build. You could get the Grav 10 because it's really cheap and it'll help with progression. You should probably get it anyway. So, like, regardless of whether it's any good, it'll at least be sort of usable. But I think quite probably Graviton Beam is going to be like one of the weaker things. If the issue with implosion is what I thought it is. In which case, I wouldn't worry about a pilot for it. I would work on a legendary close quarters pilot, if anything, because close quarters weapons will pretty much always be relevant. Close quarters and missile weapons, mostly. Like, it's possible that missile weapons lose relevance at some point, but, like, close quarters weapons always have the highest DPS, and there's always some good way of making use of it. So, yeah. Close quarters is the safest option. And you already have a good missile pilot anyway. Put the nades on Orion and then, like, beam Greptons on Panther. Wouldn't be terrible. Overdriver on par with minigun? I think minigun's better. I feel like it was kind of like the old Graviton versus minigun situation, where it was like they both had technically about the same DPS. I think actually Graviton had higher DPS. It was for a while, and technically still is, the highest DPS sustained damage weapon. Not counting, like, close quarters, like Ember Gun or Revoker, right? The issue with Graviton Beam and the issue with Overdriver is not the damage output, it's just the general, like, practicality of the weapon. Having to try to manage your magazine on Overdriver, and then having to constantly worry about the at least 1.5 seconds of damage delay from Graviton just makes the weapon generally not practical in game. Theoretically, it's really good, but, like, in matches, it's not quite as practical to use. So I find minigun just more reliable, still. Hangar with Gatecrasher and stuff. Nah, don't do that. It's not terrible. That's not terrible. Okay. 10 and 6. Okay, so that's 12, that's 16, that's 20. That's also... That's 18. And that's 16. But all of your weapons are 16 energy, except for the minigun 6s on Cheetah. Which is not great. Okay. So here's how I would deal with this. EM 10 and 6 on Scorpius. Because Scorpius has less HP than Gatecrasher, and the ability can go over stuff, so it makes it more practical for like finishing off enemies. It's easier to finish off enemies that have low HP. Instead of having to waste an EM shot, you can just hit them with the ability and kill them from there. Gatecrasher is kind of hard to hit people with it. Surge, in terms of weapons, nade launcher's arguably a better brawler than Missile Wreck is. So I put nade launchers on Surge. the missile racks can go on Redeemer because you can fire and then immediately backtrack, and you're basically fine at that point. The disc launchers can go on Gatecrasher because they take a little bit longer to unload, but Gatecrasher's got a decent amount of HP. It's a half decent brawler. At least it should be at your SP. And then this, I don't know what you could do about this, but I wouldn't keep it the way that it is because a minigun cheetah doesn't sound good at all. You could do like Javelin or Helix or something, but yeah. You said your pilots aren't the best, but like this is kind of the only one that's like particularly crap. And since EMs took a pretty big hit from mods, you don't even necessarily have to replace it with anything. Like you don't have to like highly prioritize it, right? Like epic and legendary are fine. I would, if you can, skip epic and just go straight for legendary, because otherwise you're investing in epics and then later investing in legendaries, and it's just kind of a waste long term. And definitely don't upgrade your rare pilots past rank 4. I'm trying to like, I don't know why this just like refuses to behave. Bro, stop. Trying to, whatever. I'll just type in the last number manually. Look forward to a Hangar review. My idea is that. By the way, I'm planning to get Aegis and Sentinel as I have 3,000 coins. Okay. So, Aegis is the better mech. Sentinel you could use just for, like, progression. Wait, are you sure this is you? No, this isn't you. The reason is because I forgot the 0 at the end. 0. Okay. Oh, that's decent. These two are pretty weak. Sentinel is also rather weak. So, what's the HP on this? 52,000, 53,000. Okay, so they're about the same HP. This one has 8. This one has EMP. This one has not EMP. Whichever one you think is more useful, keep it. Get Aegis. And the Sentinel would probably be worse than both of these anyway. I mean, maybe not worse than one of these, but it kind of depends. Feel free to like field test it, obviously. It'll have 16 energy, so you could pretty easily swap that in. Disc launcher on Aegis is the way to go. So whichever other mech you use probably have missile rack. Zephyr is probably slightly more optimal for that. But I suppose if you prefer Scorpius, it's probably, you know, either or. You can get Sentinel for progression if you want, and try that with missile rack, but more than likely it's not going to be very useful. The rest of these mechs are fine though. Like Guardian's not the strongest, but it is pretty strong with the ability. This is an interesting build. Karthik, I need you to stop putting your ID in like 5,000 times. Mohi. What mech or weapon should I unlock after mods? Please suggest free-to-play combo, and I'm going to double Disruptor 12 and use on Panther. Okay. Double Disruptors on Panther. Now, Disruptor's more of a burst weapon. But, like, you could probably get like 2 to 3 shots out with Disruptor with the protection of the barrier, so it's not terrible. Quite possibly better than Graviton if Gravitons have to implode shields before imploding Galvanic Hull, in which case I wouldn't blame you. This is pretty good. In terms of like new weapons to get, new mechs or weapons to get, I mean the mech meta pretty much remained the same. It was mostly just like the weapons that changed. And the weapons only really changed to make certain things like sustained fire weapons more usable. And to make snipers less broken. You could still make good use of a sniper, especially if you have Orion. 16 energy. In terms of mechs, you should probably replace the brick house with something tankier. And replace the weapons with something that's not Helix. You could put the Helix on Orion, I suppose, at least until you get something better. But I would put a tank in here somewhere, and I would have to say that Orion's more useful than Brickhouse. In terms of what tank you get, I mean, your best option is definitely Aegis, because it's the only one that's really free to play friendly. I don't know if Bastion's for Aquines, but I don't know. It's about on par with Aegis anyway, so you may as well just get Aegis. And then some type of, like, better brawler weapon on the Aegis, so Nade Launcher would actually be pretty solid. Hemscun. What mons do you recommend for each of my mech and weapon combos? Ignore the other Hangar preset, you know which one. Okay. So this one. The mods. So you started off with multi-layer perimeter on everything, it looks like, which is pretty reasonable. Lacewing, you might actually want to get Canopy, because your main threat is something like Helix or Rocket Mortar, if you end up getting to a spot where you can just be annoying. And Canopy will help against that. Your options are either... Well, your options are either, obviously, Canopy, Hardened Hull, or Galvanic Hull, right? It's a matter of, what are you taking damage from the most? Is it overhead damage? Is it, like, back damage or some type of other special damage? Or is it just damage in general? And I would have to say most of these, pretty much all of them, kind of just take damage in general, with the exception of Lacewing, which typically takes damage from overhead. In which case, Hardened Hull is probably the better one to go for all of these. The better second option, which you do have on Redux. Something in terms of like mechs with resistance, damage resistance, you want to prioritize Hardened Hull first, because you actually get like a crazy amount of, well, you get more resistance. Well, your resistance turns that into more HP, essentially, is what I'm saying. And so let's say the let's say the 24% from my level 3 hardened hull, right? Or 24%. Did I say 23? I said 20. I meant 24. From my hardened hull. The Nomad, when it's in resistance anyway, multiplies that by 2.5 times. So that's like 50, 60% more mech HP, essentially. Whereas perimeter multi-layer at rank 3 only gives me 2%, 6 layers, that's like 12% more HP. A regular perimeter at level 3, 46%. It doesn't pass it up until level 5. So hardened hull on resistance-based mechs are really, really strong. The shield obviously keeps you from getting one-tapped, so it is worth getting, but the hardened hull is something you should invest in more. I don't think there's really any mech that specifically benefits from Galvanic Hull more than any other mod. I think Galvanic Hull and Canopy are mostly afterthoughts. Canopy being particularly useful on something like Lacewing, but I think that's kind of it. So, like, these two are the basic ones, and then these two are just, like, if you have the extra resources. Vortex, you know, if you put your ID in like that, it's not going to count for the giveaway. Also, Ocean Rebirth, please follow the pinned message to see how to put your ID in for the giveaway. JP2121, or no, yeah, JP2121 put it in correctly. Guarov, please check the pinned message. Meta, Strand, Nade, or Disruptor. Generally, Nade Launcher. Actually, Nade Launcher is super strong. And if any of you guys, for whatever reason, can't put your ID in the chat, Vortex, I'm not typing it for you. If you can't put your ID in the chat, go to Discord. There's a place for you to put it in there. Gorov, please check the pinned message. It should have the letters ID and then colon before your ID number. Do I just put 111? No. That's an example of like what my ID might be, right? So basically the ID colon is the keyword. That's what I'll be looking for when I like pick the winners. Jono Moore. Wouldn't mind a look at mine if you have time. Been trying out different builds in both my hangars. I can get my hangar over 7k if I swap some stuff. Okay. Cryo, that's interesting. One of my clanmates uses cryo a lot. It's not very good, but he uses it a lot. It's kind of funny. Minigun Onyx. Fusion Gatecrasher. Okay. Bastion, Eclipse, Aegis, Panther, possibly even Onyx are all your best mechs. Unless you have other ones that just aren't in here. Something like Nomad or Surge would be more ideal. But yeah, I'd get rid of the Gatecrasher and replace it with the Bastion, because Bastion's better. Helix Panther's not terrible. Honestly, you could probably keep that. Your rank disparity is very high. It's like you have some things that are rank 6 and then other things that are rank 3. And that's going to, like, your matchmaking will probably put you up against mostly rank 6 stuff. Rank 6 or possibly even some max stuff. Because it sees these builds. Well, mostly like this build, right? It's like, it's pretty strong. So something like this won't be able to keep up very well. In terms of cryonades, I would not recommend upgrading them or investing in them, really. Cryonades are pretty weak. The regular nades are free-to-play friendly and very strong, like much stronger than cryonades. It's a good brawler option. I would put those on Bastion, honestly, over Arc Torrent. Like I said, Helix Panther's not terrible. You could probably make good use of that. This you should probably upgrade, put on some type of brawler weapon. You could do fusion cannon, I suppose, but you'd get better usage out of something more like minigun. And then the Onyx does better with burst weapons, so you could do like Disruptor on Onyx. I know that these are 6s. I'm just like theorizing. Like if you had higher level disruptors, and if you had a higher level Aegis. So you could do disruptors on Onyx, because the abilities of burst damage and the having the weapons with burst damage is also pretty nice. And then the minigun or some other type of good sustained damage weapon on Aegis, because it's really it's able to survive for quite a while inside its dome, which gives you enough time to pump out quite a lot of damage. So yeah, that's what I would do with that. Your pilots look decent. No rares, so that's good to see. A couple epics, but it's not a big deal. I still use epics on some of my weapons. Mohit, I mean, I already looked at your hangar. Where do you... Did you not see it? Vortex, I need you to stop doing that. Are you in Discord? Can you put it in the Discord? Because I'll copy paste it from Discord. I don't want to deal with this 15 line crap that you got. I've just been playing around with Aegis. I've got Surge, I can swap in higher level. Okay, okay. Yeah, that's definitely a better idea. You could probably replace the Onyx, if anything. Yeah, Vortex, I'm gonna time you out if you keep doing that. According to you, A by Aegis and put nades on it. By the way, which nades? Regular nades. If I mean cryonades, then I'll say cryonades. And cryonades are never worth getting. If I ever say you should get cryonades, then I'm joking. Because that's never something that I actually mean. Cryonades are kind of bad. They're worse than regular nades in basically every way. The Brick Hall, please check the pinned message to see how you should put your ID in. Basically how other people are doing it, with the ID and then colon. That'll actually enter you into the giveaway, because I'm looking for the ID colon part. That's basically the keyword. Okay, Demon Runner. What did he say? Not good stuff, but works for me. Okay, good talk. This is pretty decent. I mean, like I said before, so long as you have high energy, like high damage railguns, then it's pretty decent, because you can still kill quite a few things. Embers on Onyx, I would not go with that. Okay, what's interesting is you have 2 close quarters builds, and both of them are on heavy mechs. There is no heavy mech that is ideal for close quarters. None. So what I would do is try to get the close quarters on Surge, the disc launchers on either Guardian or Onyx. Disruptor on Orion's not terrible. And then whichever one you don't have, whichever one of these you don't put the disc launcher on, will be left with Arc Torrent. I would replace the Arc Torrent with something else. Probably Nade Launcher is the best option. Nade Launcher is a fantastic weapon, people. Like, it's kind of like Missile Rack, but it's, I think it's cheaper because a lot more of them are for credits. It has good damage, like brawler level damage, and it's got multiple shots. So it's not like Missile Rack. You have to, either you waste the entire mag or you don't shoot at all. You can fire a little bit. The reload's rather quick. It's got a pretty short reload, and you can lob it over stuff. But even if you couldn't lob it over stuff, then like it would still be a very solid weapon. I loved nades on Onyx. I don't know if I've tried it post mods. I'd have to do that. Hamscun, don't put it in for him. He's ignoring me. I literally told him if he wants it, then he can put it in Discord. That's what I did. That's what I opened Discord for. But he's clearly not paying attention. In which case, why would I bother reviewing his hangar if he's not even paying attention? Ocean Rebirth. I'm checking yours right now. Please don't spam it though. Is it worth it to upgrade the pulse cannon? No, definitely. Not bad. Orion's not really a close quarters mech. And its ability range is infinite. It has really, really good range. So putting weapons that have decent range is fairly useful for Orion. Missile racks should do pretty good. A marked enemy hit by missile racks should die. It doesn't really matter what it is, it probably will die to one salvo. So that's pretty good for that. Close quarters, see, 8s, okay. So Frag Eclipse would be really good for free-for-all, and probably just slightly better in general. This is fine, doesn't really matter what you put Helix on. This is also fine, even though it's not going to be ideal for too much longer. It's probably at least workable. And then this is also fine. You could do Missile Rack on Stalker and then nades on Orion, depending on which one you feel like is better. But yeah, I would do that. And then, like, what's your... All rare pilots. Do not rank up any of these pilots. You have them all at rank 4. That's fine. That's great. Because when you get it to rank 4, you get this additional innate skill perk, which is quite a big bonus, 6%. It's pretty decent. But then after that, you don't get another big jump in performance until you have it maxed, and it's not worth it. It costs way too much. This is 7% plus like 15.3% in terms of the damage at rank 4. Let me check. %. This is like, it's basically the same at rank 3 for an epic. And then when you get it to rank 4, it's way more. It's like nearly 10% and then like 25% at rank 4. And the cost difference between a rare and an epic pilot to get it to rank 4 a rare costs, I'm looking at it right now, sorry, 425 pilot marks. And an epic costs 3, 4, 5, like 600 something. Yeah, it's about 600. I think it's 595. Which is not that much more expensive, but what I'm saying is you get a lot more. And that's to get to rank 4, sorry. If you wanted it at rank 3, it would cost you much less than that. It would cost you like 250. For basically the same stat boost. You get 250. So the only and also an extra implant slot, of course. So the only thing that rare pilots have going for them is that buying them is cheaper. But you're gonna waste this this premium currency. It's just something that like, yeah, the only way to get this currency is through events and these stupid like weekly tasks. Everything else you can get in other ways. But pilot marks are stupidly hard to come by, so you don't want to waste them if possible. Where should I send my ID in Discord? In Mech Arena giveaways channel. Should be able to edit this. So the channel should also be linked in the event details in Discord. Now, anyway. Andreas. My main hangar is for CPC and 5v5. My second's for 2v2. Okay. Sorry, I'm gonna have to decline that. Oh, Max Nade Ares. I love that. That's that's interesting. See, matchmaking is gonna see this as you have a maxed mech with a maxed pilot with rank 6 weapons and probably, yeah, decently leveled, decent mods, right? This is a strong build. But then you have other mechs like this. You have other things like this, where it's like an or probably this one. I guess technically this one's the weakest. Where it's just a rare pilot. And 8 energy weapons and a rank 4 mech. So like the power difference between these is really high. So I wouldn't recommend like, I would recommend trying to get everything to rank 6 before you start maxing things out. Or at least to rank 5 before you start maxing things out. But anyway, said this one was for 2v2. Yeah, fair enough. This is a good build. This is not terrible, honestly. The graviton beams you might want to swap out at some point. And then Helix on Guardian is also not the best. Well, probably not terrible. Replacing this Ares with an Aegis would be ideal. I know it's your only maxed mech and you probably really like it, but Aegis is just a lot better and it works really well with nades. So yeah, I would do that. I would do that. Vortex. Bruh. So you could have just done that the entire time. Alright. Any suggestions for my tanks and also Zephyr? Okay. Oh yeah, the Zephyr doesn't look like it's gonna do very well. But that might be the best that you can do with a Zephyr at this point. This isn't bad. I feel like this is probably better than putting the Embers on Zephyr. In terms of Helix platforms, yeah, just use whatever heavy mech is at the highest energy. If you could, I mean, you have two epics, so like if you have Guardian, then replace the Arachnos with a Guardian, obviously. Yeah, you do have Guardian. Yeah. Why? Put Guardian there. It's much better than Arachnos in like every possible way. This Ares is not great, but you know, it is what it is. Hold on. 4.5 200. I'm fairly certain. Yeah, ranking these up increases the effect speed. It's at 4.5. You could do a Thermal Lance 4, which has an effect speed at rank 1 of 3 seconds, which I think is already better than the max effect speed of Thermal Lance 2. Yes, it is. So or wait, you had a 10 you had a 10 at 2. You had 12 energy, not 16. I don't know why I was thinking you had 16. Never mind. Disregard. But yeah, Ares, replace Ares with Aegis when you can. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I don't have carbine implants, and I don't have a beam pilot. So give me some other suggestions except these two. I don't think I would ever suggest anyone use carbine, so you don't have to worry about that. Okay, okay. These two should, I mean, these two builds probably do pretty well, all things considered. That's not bad. You could very easily replace this with Fragment Gun 12s or possibly Nade Launcher 12s, depending on what you want. Or Ember Gun 12s, but well, yeah, between nades and embers, you probably should do embers. And then you could put the nades on Brick House. Yeah. You could also do Disruptor on Brick House, but nades are better, so. Someone entered 111. Oh, bruh. Okay, I put that into the thing as like, whatever your ID is. Because I know if I typed your ID, then people would just type in the words your ID, right? So I just typed in some like very, very obviously not my ID number. Should I get minigun 16 or chain gun 16 to 6 stars? Oosh. Definitely minigun's better than chain gun. Also, I don't see your ID, so. How to do giveaway? I already said. You type it in like how. Wait, no, you already did it. You already did it. Your other one. ID : then you put your IDs. Assuming this is your ID, then you're good. That's how you do it. Oh, drift, sorry. If I see an ID number by itself, I just assume people aren't, like, I assume they're just dumping it for the giveaway and leaving. I'll do yours in a second. Okay, in terms of this, chain gun 6 and 10, that's not terrible actually. Ember 8's on kill shot. You might want to swap these two weapons, I mean. Oh, that's interesting. The pilot. Yeah, don't get rare pilots past rank 4. I feel like the weapons would be slightly more optimized if you swapped these two. But they're probably fine either way. The pilot might make the chain gun slightly stronger, and you definitely want your stronger one on Aegis because it's the better mech. So if your chain gun feels stronger, then go ahead and keep using it. But it's worth swapping it and trying it for a couple battles just to see if it's better that way. Otherwise, it looks pretty decent, honestly. Drift, you didn't know that? Yeah, unfortunately, like, there's way too many entries for me to be able to look at all of them, obviously. So I have to, or I try to prioritize it somehow. I try to find some way of making sure that the most number of hangars that I review are actually ones that, like, are appreciated and ones that people are paying attention. Because if it's just a number and nothing else, I have no way of knowing if they left, and, you know, they're not even going to see what I just said, right? Which is why typically I go with anyone. If you want to get your hangar reviewed, the easiest way to do that is to ask some type of, or include some type of, like, question or explain to me what your situation is, right? More often than not, people who actually want to get reviewed for something want it for a specific reason, like maybe one of their builds isn't doing very well, or they continually lose on the same kind of map, or they continually lose to the same types of enemies. And they want to know what they can do with their hangar to help them out with that. Those type of people, I know that they're paying attention. Other people, it's just like, review mine. Like, okay, well, you know, you probably already left by the time I got to it. Vortex, I know for a fact, was not present when I did his. Anyway, this is pretty good. I wouldn't do Arc Torrent on Seeker. I'm not even gonna lie, you might do better with minigun on Seeker. Because I think, so long as you do it right, you can spin up the barrels before teleporting. And like maybe there's like a half a second of delay, but it's not bad. And the damage is much higher than Arc Torrent is. And you have much more ammo. Though I suppose you don't really need it with Seeker, now that I think about it. Now that I think about it, theoretically all you really need for Arc Torrent is 5 seconds of firing time. Because you're teleporting onto someone, you only have 5 seconds before your ability pulls you back anyway. So that's an interesting question. I'd have to try an Arc Torrent Seeker at some point. Unfortunately, I got rid of my Arc Torrent pilot kind of a while ago, and now I don't... I want to go back to Arc Torrent, but I can't. At least not yet. But I'll have to try it at some point. This is actually a decent build. The Minigun Chungus is pretty half decent, honestly. Even in late game. It's just like super high DPS, so that's nice. The rest of these are pretty good. The only thing I'd really say is replace Brickhouse with like an actual legitimate tank. The easiest one to get and the most effective, like cost, as far as like how much it costs and how good it is obviously Aegis. Vortex, I think, would be the one that you want the most. If you're willing to, like, spend a lot of A-coins or buy an offer. Bastion's pretty good, but I don't know if it's necessarily that much better than Aegis to a point where it's, like, actually worth getting. Because, like, I mean, just for example, like, my clanmates, like myself and my clanmates, when we're putting together like competitive hangars, probably like 2 or 3 of us have an Aegis, and 2 or 3 of us have a Bastion. And maybe that'll change slightly with mods. But generally, like, the number of Aegises and the number of Bastions are basically the same. So they're pretty interchangeable is what I'm saying. But yeah, otherwise this is pretty good. This obviously is going to be a really, really weak build until you can get 2 of them, if you plan to get 2 of them. I would probably just like not even bother and go for like Nade Launcher. Honestly, Nade Launcher would be pretty solid. Gorov, you've been waiting for 30 minutes. Well, okay, like I said, I prioritize people who are asking legitimate questions, not just because you spammed the chat. I will check yours, but I have no concept of what you're struggling with, right? The only thing I'm doing is just looking at your hangar for the sake of looking at it. So I won't know. And presumably Amscon timed you out anyway, so you won't be able to tell me. But yeah, I won't know what you're dealing with, and I'm not... Another thing that I really want to avoid is going to someone's hangar, telling them something, and then after I'm done and I'm going to the next person, they tell me, oh, no, this is this way because I'm doing something different, or I really want to keep this thing, and you know, I want different advice. I want you to tell me something different, or you give me new factors to consider. I'm not going back to your hangar. I already reviewed yours. Like, I'm not going back to it. So I want as much information up front as possible to help me do as much as I can for you while I'm there, because I don't want to go back. I don't want to spend like 30 minutes on one person. This is... I don't know why you're doing that. You could put 2 Ember 6s. Not only is it epic as opposed to rare, which, like, 1 grade up is about the equivalent of 1 rank up in the case of most weapons. So an Ember 6 is about the equivalent of a rank 5 Frag 6. Or rank 4 Ember 6 is about the equivalent of a rank 5 Frag 6 is what I'm saying. So I would definitely just do double Embers on them. For sure. The Disruptors, that's actually a decent build for Disruptor. Missile Rack Zephyr, also pretty decent build. I would keep that. This, probably 2 Disc Launcher 8s are probably better than nades. Even though nades are generally a better weapon, there's no real point in having a mismatched build for the sake of the 2 extra energy that you get out of it. I don't think you'd do particularly better with it. Especially since you have a guided pilot with a nade launcher implant. It's like, go for guided. Also, for those who don't know, ability damage does not do anything for mechs that boost their weapon damage. It only does something for something like Killshot where the ability itself deals damage. If there is a stat in the mech description, this is ability cooldown, this says ability damage. If there is a stat that says ability damage and then there's a number, then that mech is affected by ability damage implants. Brickhouse doesn't have that. It has cooldown and it has duration. Mech bonus damage is not the same as ability damage. That's decent. Yeah, that's... The Pulse Cannon, I would not worry about Pulse Cannon. Rank 6 Rare Pilot, Rank 6 Rare Pilot, Rank 6 Rare Pilot. This is a good pilot. I would upgrade that one. Maxed Rare Pilot, that's... yeah. It's built specifically for this hybrid that's completely unnecessary. Never get Rare Pilots past rank 4. It's a waste of resources. Like I said, put 2 Disc Launchers on Brickhouse. And then you can put the nades on Ares, then, because Pulse Cannons are kind of weak, and nades are a much better weapon. And it should help you out, because Ares is a decent brawler mech as well. But you have Zephyr, so you should have access to Aegis as well. So try to get Aegis to replace the Ares if at all possible. Frag is pretty close to Ember Gun. Yes, in terms of damage. I didn't necessarily mean it in terms of Ember and Frag specifically, although it is closer to accurate now that mods make things tankier. Frags are a bit less useful, but it is generally the case with weapons, specifically weapons that have extremely similar mechanics. So something like Pulse Cannon versus Fusion Cannon, it's essentially the same thing. I like to play CPC in 5v5. Okay, that's what he says. This is basically the same. The only difference is the Helix and Jav Gordian. Okay. This shouldn't be a terrible build, honestly. This isn't ideal, but it's also not the worst. Mortars on Zephyr. I mean, you can put mortars on a lot of things, I suppose. Arc Torrents aren't as bad as they used to be, but I definitely would recommend replacing them with Ember Gun. You can get Ember Gun for 8 coins. It's pretty easy. So if you have, what? I think it would require like 6,000 A coins to get and duplicate them. Possibly slightly more than that. 6.5. It shouldn't be more than 6.5. This build's not terrible. If... oh, okay, that's... okay, that's rank 5, that's why. Panther's definitely more useful than Guardian. And Railgun's more useful than Disc Launcher. So if anything, I would put Helix on Panther instead of on Guardian. You could do like a 16 and a 8 if you have the 8, or even just like a Javelin 8, doesn't really matter. Put those on Panther, and then keep the railguns on Guardian. As opposed to that. EM rifle. Disc launcher would probably be better than EM rifle at this point. Although that is an Ares. I would replace that with an Aegis as soon as possible. And a disc launcher Aegis would not be terrible. Not super ideal, but it's not bad. Something like Nade Launcher, even Disruptor, kind of, are good weapons that you can go for. Like I said, Ember Gun, obviously, instead of Arc Torrent. I feel like this build probably isn't very useful. It's not really worth having. And it definitely shouldn't be here if you have a Helix. So maybe replace the Zephyr with something else as well. Quite possibly another solid scout. So maybe Redeemer or Killshot. Killshot's obviously worse than Surge, but what you could do with a Killshot is you can use it to basically use it at the very start of the battle, for CPC anyway, to grab beacons, so that when you die, because your beacon runner almost always dies really quickly, when you die, you don't have to worry about your Surge now being wasted. Because Surge is, like I said, much stronger. So you could pull out your Surge later. Ace, be curious what you would replace for Vortex. 2v2 and CPC. Was thinking Surge with Revoker. Okay. Well, replace with Vortex or replace Vortex with? Okay. Yeah. Revoker on Surge is definitely better than Minigun. I think Revoker is currently the highest DPS weapon. So it does make sense. That's pretty good. You could put the minigun on Eclipse, honestly, and it would probably be better. In terms of Vortex, all of these are probably really nice in 2v2. Although, I would say that Vortex is much better than Aegis in 2v2. So, with CPC, you could kind of keep it how it is. 2v2, I would replace the Aegis with Vortex. CPC, you could replace the Eclipse with Vortex if you really wanted to. Eclipse has lost a bit of usability, but it's still really good in 2v2. Yeah. So it's more of a mode dependent thing. Or you could replace the Eclipse in both hangars, but I would say that Aegis is not particularly useful in 2v2. SSG, okay, let me check yours. We're approaching 5 hours, by the way, so I don't think I'm going to do too many more. This is good. This is good. Definitely Emperor on Surge. I see this hybrid build a lot, but it makes sense because both of those weapons are for credits. This is pretty decent. At some point, you'll want to use like double nades on something. And I would probably put them on Aegis. Because a dome that lasts 10 seconds and then spending those entire 10 seconds reloading your missile racks is not remotely ideal. This build right here is not great, but I understand where it's coming from. It is what it is. It's a kind of like mid to long range sustained fire DPS weapon build. It's probably not terrible, but you definitely need to keep your distance. If I were to double down on one of these weapons, I would actually go with Chain Gun over Graviton Beam at this point. Like I said, this is fine. Although Missile Rack on Killshot would probably be better because you can get more damage out before you die. Considering Killshot doesn't have any type of protection. And then you could put, like, nades on Aegis. And then the Sentinel can be replaced with something else. Sentinel's not very good. I'm trying to think, what else is in Sentinel's tier? There's some interesting stuff here. Some decent fast mechs. I don't know, man. You could probably keep Sentinel in here for now. But it's definitely the one that you're going to want to replace when you come across something better. You probably... I mean, another tank is nice. And the next one you get access to is like Bastion, but I don't even know if that's for Acorns. What are you guys arguing about? Vikram, if you're not playing the game anymore, then I'm not going to give you advice. That's just pointless. Wiki, if you want to enter the giveaway, make sure to put a colon between the ID and the numbers of your ID. Whether lions are cats or not, they are. It is a type of cat. It's like saying Aegis isn't a tank, it's an Aegis. Like, yeah, it's a type of tank. Helix, these are pretty good. Arguing about semantics, yeah, that's what I thought. Any soulless weapon recommendations? Something that you can keep your distance with. I found, like, Podgun's pretty good. Disruptor was actually not bad, but the range on Disruptor's not fantastic. So, like, Disruptor's mostly only good for, like, 2v2. I'm gonna say, like, minigun or anything. There's some other good 16 energy, like, longer range weapons. I suppose you could use Railgun. How does the giveaway work? So, when I finish this stream in a few minutes, I'm gonna wait until YouTube processes like the stream replay, and then I'm gonna use a bot that I have to collect all of the IDs that follow the format, which is the, you know, ID colon and then your ID. So the ID colon is essentially the keyword, so it's going to be looking through that. So it'll collect all of those, and then I will probably start up a new stream just so I can show who won, like, during this stream, so that nobody thinks it's rigged or something. And it'll just be a random wheel. So somebody's gonna win something. What they win will also be determined by a random wheel. So what it's gonna be is there's going to be 11 entries. There's gonna be, well, you know, after somebody wins, right? There's gonna be 11 entries. 10 of them are for 1,000 A-coins, and then one of them's for 10,000 A-coins. So you have a chance to win 10,000 A-coins, is what I'm saying. Not necessarily a high chance, but like 3 or 4 people have done it already. And my wallet was not happy about it. Anyway, in terms of this, Stormrack. Okay, so if you're gonna go with a Stormrack build, it's best to use it on probably Aegis. Honestly, I'd say Aegis is probably the best mech to use Stormrack on out of all of these. Next best being Surge, but definitely not Orion. I can understand it now since it's only rank 4, but once you get it duplicated, which would be probably a pretty good idea, it'd be a pretty good idea to prioritize that. I would put it on either Aegis or Surge. Podguns on Eclipse is not terrible, actually. This is not terrible, actually, although I don't know if you necessarily need a Helix and a Podgun build. I feel like they both kind of serve similar purposes. Frag Surge is obviously pretty decent, although you can get Ember Guns for A-coins, so there's kind of no reason not to. This is a good build as well, but Stormrack is obviously better. What you could do is put if you put Stormrack on Aegis, you could put Minigun on Eclipse and Podgun on Orion. A marked Podgun is actually kind of crazy. And of course, Minigun Eclipse is pretty solid. Wait, are you guys still arguing about that? Wait. Megatron, are you arguing that lions are not cats? That they're technically different? Literally, it's literally the Aegis example. Oh, Aegis, no, Aegis isn't a tank, it's an Aegis. It's technically different, because it's a different... Its name is not tank, its name is Aegis, like, bruh. It's a type of tank. It is not literally just called tank. I mean, it's not like cats are just cat. Every cat has a type. It's a specific type of cat. It's just that people don't typically address them by the specific type of cat that they are. But every cat is a type of cat. There is no cat that is just simply a cat with no specifications whatsoever. I'm giving you an example because clearly general logic is lost. Not sure if they should have about it. Okay. Megatron, we're going to end this stream pretty soon. If you bring this into the next one, I will time you out. Because you're just being needlessly stubborn on an issue that you clearly know that you're wrong about. Okay, JR Pro, I'm going to look at yours. I think yours is going to be the last one. Changes to deal with mods, he says. Missile Rack took a huge hit. Missile Rack's not great. Immigrant systems. Ember Gun, Killshot... No. Okay, so Ember Gun's on Surge for sure. Railgun Surge is pretty bad. Against mods, I should say. Missile Rack's on Killshot. Even though Missile Rack took a pretty big hit, the ability damage from Killshot's going to help you slightly, and it's a suicide build, essentially. This is what you're going to start with, this is what you grab beacons with. And then the Surge is what you actually, you know, you use that a little bit, you spawn that a little bit later. You don't want to waste it on, like, grabbing center or something, right? You can kamikaze this into center, it's fine. So Missile Rack on Killshot, Ember Gun on Surge, for sure. This build is, I mean, it's one of the better weapons for Stalker, I suppose. This build is not fantastic. I would get nades on Bastion, honestly. It's basically like Missile Rack. I think it has pretty similar damage per magazine, but the reload's quicker, and you don't have to waste the entire mag in one go. Which, I mean, it also means that your unload time's quicker, so you have less burst damage, but it's very similar. Your damage per second's very, very similar, I'm pretty sure. And nades are just better against mods in general. Especially for a brawler type mech like Bastion. In terms of the Panther, you could keep this. What I would do, though, if possible, is if you have EM12s, or just use the Railgun 12s, replace this Stalker with an Orion, and put either EM12 or Railgun 12 on it. That's an actually decent sniper nowadays. So this, you don't need two for sure. So whatever you put on the Orion, just let that be what it is. And then the Panther, maybe minigun? You definitely don't want EMs on Panther, I don't think. You potentially would even consider replacing the Panther altogether, but I don't know what your mech options are. Overall, it's probably decent. So what I would prioritize at the moment, is, you know, obviously putting Ember on there, Missile Rack on there, and then getting nades for Bastion. So that's what I would prioritize first, and then depending on what you can get for that, would kind of determine what you do. But probably like minigun would be pretty good for a Panther. Okay. Red, hello. Will you do a War Robot stream? No, I won't. I made a Steam account a while back just to kind of see how bad it was. And it was still pretty bad. I haven't played it for, I don't know, probably like 3 or 4 months. Basically, that last screenshot that I put into the War Robots channel is pretty much the last time I played it. Plus, like, it's interesting because, like, if I was to like do any game, if I was to do like War Robots or something like that, right? I'd probably want to do it relatively consistently. It'll probably be something that, you know, because I would want to be able to, you know, build up an audience of people who are interested in, you know, both games. If I was going to do it at all. The War Robots content creator program, I'm pretty sure, bans you from playing or featuring competitor games. So actually, Manny Gaming got in trouble for playing, for being sponsored by Mech Arena when he was in the War Robots Partner Program, and also like the two games are obviously competitors, but like they're from like competitor countries, if you know what I'm saying. So that probably would not go over super cleanly for a lot of people. I play Warbots on Steam only. I had an old Android account. I had a really old Android account that I would have loved to have loaded that into, like, being able to play that on PC without an emulator, because I hate emulators. I think they're crap. But no, it doesn't work because Pixonic is ridiculous and they absolutely refuse to let you have cross-platform anything. So yeah. For as bad as you might think Mech Arena is, War Robots is much worse. It's just that War Robots kind of looks cooler. That's the only difference. War Robots fell off for me after they introduced homing bullets. You know what? Fair enough. For me, I used to play it way back when. It was the one and only game that I played up until up until I stopped, and then I took a break, and then I started playing Mech Arena. But for me, it was Hawk, the introduction of a regular robot that was literally, its goal was to be a counter to Titans. Like that, I was like, what? There should be no one robot that counters Titans. That's the whole freaking point of a Titan, is that it requires multiple. Like, what are you doing? So that was kind of the last straw for me. I was like, bruh, I don't have fun with this anymore. So I went out with a bang. I made a full hangar of 5 invaders, and I had fun with that for a couple weeks, and then I left. So yeah. Would Mech Arena mechs beat War Robots mechs? No, absolute, not even remote chance. War Robots mechs are like 40 times the size of Mech Arena mechs. I quit after Titans were added. Yeah, fair enough. I thought the idea of Titans was cool, but like, you know, obviously the execution was crap, but that's always the case. The idea of Titans is, you know, it's a fairly unique idea in my opinion. Like, I hadn't seen any other mech games do that. EM rifle, though? Oh, yeah. Yeah, EM rifle does, what? Maybe 500,000 damage? Yeah, a lot of War Robots mechs have easily a million HP. As well as, like, all of these shields, and they... Pretty much every War Robots build can heal itself up in a matter of, like, 3 seconds. Can, like, fully, from, like, basically 0 to basically full. Heal itself up in, like, 3 seconds. So, like, they'd step on you, and it'd be over. Not even a contest. Anyway, yeah. Podgun's the only usable weapon against War Robots because infinite range. I mean, yeah, technically. War Robots Frontiers seems to be very promising. Honestly, same. It's sad that it's no longer like it's still not free. It's still not free to play. Like you can't download it for free. Which is, I mean, that's the case for most games on Steam, but that's fine. All right, hold on. Jade Galaxy. This is gonna be the last one. This is gonna be the last one. What would be best setup for CPC? I still have no. I have still Nomad, Surge, Bastion, Emerga, and Dislodge available. Okay. Nomad and Surge and Bastion are all great. Nomad and Surge are both better than Eclipse. and both better than Panther. In terms of like Lacewing and Orion, I feel like you should probably do one or the other. So like the most meta hangar essentially is like Nomad Surge, Bastion Aegis, or one of those with Vortex. It's typically like Bastion or Vortex or Aegis and Vortex. And then either Orion or Lacewing. So, these could be interchangeable. So I would replace both of these with Bastion, or yeah, I would replace both of these with Nomad and Surge. And then one of these I would replace with Bastion. Probably the Orion. In terms of the weapons on each one, Railgun and Graviton are not really ideal. You'd want to go with Ember Gun. You said you had Ember Gun. You said you had Disc Launcher, which is not great. I would go with like Nade Launcher instead. Possibly even Missile Rack on the Surge. Ember Gun obviously on the Nomad. And then probably swap this with the Bastion. The Bastion could have... The Bastion could have the Gravitons, honestly. It would be pretty decent until you get something better. Do you think Seeker's implant for additional damage should be replaced with the implant that boosts his shield, given the Galvanic mod buffs that additional damage and most hangars? I don't understand what you mean. So I have Seeker with the damage boost. The shield HP implant is pretty marginal because your shield HP is pretty crap. You're mostly relying on mods to survive, and your mod HP is not dependent on your shield HP. It's dependent on your mech HP. So, yeah. And the additional damage is actually more useful because it'll shred a Galvanic hull quicker. Considering, what you're gonna have. I mean, if there's a Galvanic hull to be dealt with, then you're gonna have to deal with it anyway. Because Seeker's base bonus 30% is not gonna be there. Especially if you're using a close quarters weapon, something like Revoker or Ember, you're also losing damage from the bonus damage that Revoker deals on the way back when it does back damage, and from Ember Gun when it does overheat damage. So you're losing damage from the weapons, and you're losing damage from the bonus damage of the mech. I would say probably the best way to get around a Galvanic is to pile on the damage and just destroy the Galvanic as quickly as possible. Because you're not going to fully circumnavigate the Galvanic whatsoever. It's kind of impossible to do with any type of decent build. So at that point, I say just get rid of it as quickly as possible. And then the shield HP could be useful, but I would say it's less useful than all of these other ones that I have on here. I would say this is currently the best Seeker setup you can get. If you had max implants on everything. Are Ember Guns better on Guardian or Panther? Oh, I'm not sure you should be using Embers on either of those, to be honest. But if you had to pick one, I suppose Panther, because at least it can get close with the Stasis Barrier. So even if it's buffed, it's still beneficial. I assume the 50k damage bump was good, given it regenerates. What do you mean? The shield HP? I mean, the shield HP implant's only 30%, and the Seeker shield HP generally is, Only 34. This is basically it's basically a Juggernaut shield. So yeah, you could get it to like 50,000 HP, but 50,000 HP is basically nothing compared to a mod. Like, at level 4, my perimeter multi-layer has 50,000 HP, right? And, I mean, arguably the best one to go for is a regular perimeter, which would be, like, much, much better. In fact, I should have bought this, because, like, look at that. It's a good percentage. 200,000 shield HP. In the grand scheme of things, 50,000 more shield HP, even if it's regenerative, is basically nothing. And, in the case of Seeker, your goal is not to survive because you're not a tank, you're an attacker. Your goal is to kill the other thing as quickly as possible, because that's what it's good at. Oh, Scorpion. Oh no, do I want to make this my last one? I know I said the last one was my last one, and then the one before that I also said was my last one, but you know what? Fine. Sure. I don't plan on spending anymore, but I want to improve my loadouts. What do you think? Okay. Okay. This is pretty solid, honestly. The only thing that I'd say you're missing is a tank. And you could replace the Eclipse and Orion with tank mechs. The best two are well, the best three are obviously Aegis, Vortex, and Bastion. Vortex you can't get unless you spend. Bastion I don't know if it's for A coins. I don't remember. But Aegis is an easy choice, honestly, and it would be really, really strong with Stormrax. I would understand if you didn't want to put... Obviously you don't want EMs. I would understand if you don't want to put the minigun on Surge, so you could put the minigun on Aegis, and it wouldn't be that bad. And it would probably be better than Eclipse with minigun, all things considered. You could put EMs on Eclipse, but probably Orion's better. I agree with that. And yeah. Yeah, honestly, the only thing you're missing is something tanky, which, like, tanky things have become... They've become a lot more valuable. It's like Scouts, where it's like you're doing yourself a disservice if you don't have something tanky. It just makes it much harder for you to do certain things. Probably I would replace... This is clearly the weakest build, I would say. But you don't want EMs on Aegis. I suppose Nade Launcher actually would be pretty solid. If you wanted to give Nade Launcher Aegis a try, that's actually not a bad build at all. It's like a sort of discount Stormrack. You could also do nades on Surge and Stormrack on Aegis, which might be slightly better. Alright. Well, anyway. Oh, 8 coins for Bastion? Yeah, okay. I wasn't sure if they ever made it available for in-game currency. I got it a long time ago, and I don't know. Because clearly I already have it. I have all 3 Vortex not maxed out. Ooh, okay. I would go for Vortex for sure. Vortex is really good in every game mode. Vortex is my tank of choice. Some people, I would say Aegis and Bastion are fairly interchangeable. Using 2 tanks is good. So typically a lot of players either use Vortex and Bastion or Vortex and Aegis, but they don't typically use Bastion and Aegis. So it's a bit of preference in terms of which one of those you use, but I would definitely go with Vortex. Vortex with Stormrax is a freaking monster of a build. The nades on Surge would be pretty good, because I'm pretty sure your unload time fairly well coincides with the Surge EMP time. Um, unless you have, you could put Embers on Surge as well. If you were already using the 12s on Nomad, you could use like a 16 and 8 on Surge, I suppose, if you wanted to go that route. And then, yeah, either Aegis or Bastion, you could throw the miniguns on. Aegis is probably better with miniguns, like of the two. But yeah, that's gonna be it. For this, like I said, I'm gonna give it like 30 minutes, maybe an hour. What do we want to say? Let's come back at like 6 p.m. my time, so 35 minutes it should be done. So I'm gonna stop this stream. I'm gonna make a new stream, and then we'll pick the winner on that stream. Just a reminder, if anybody here put their ID in Discord and they included the ID colon, or they included, somebody included the quotation marks, somebody else included I think their in-game name, somebody else included their alt ID, I think. Don't do that. Follow the general rules of the Discord, please. But yeah, otherwise that is it for now. I'll see you all in like 30 minutes or so.